So this is a warning letter example from March 2017. So this says during aseptic manufacturing of your sterile ophthalmic products, you documented numerous leaking containers and other bottle defects. To address these defects, you routinely adjusted your filling equipment and resumed production. You subsequently released these lots. Following distribution, you received customer complaints of leaking containers. In addition, you found numerous critical container closure defects, including leaking products during media field studies. So it looks like this company knew about this issue, but still released their product without really fixing the problem, and ultimately received a warning letter. Next one is your firm failed to perform process validation for the manufacturing of its API products. Your firm prepared and presented a document titled How to Determine Process Conditions, briefly describing your firm's experience with parameters such as mixing duration, speed, and temperature and duration. This document is an inadequate replacement for executing process validation as it fails to demonstrate a robust state of control within the data obtained from the API production process. It is not clear which of your many API manufacturing processes this document describes. So it looks like a firm wanted to put out a product, but they didn't have a process validation for that process, and they put out a document which was inadequate, which ultimately led to the FDA giving them a warning because they didn't really demonstrate they had a good state of control with producing and manufacturing this product. So they need to prove that with their process validation, and they didn't do that. So that was the issue here. Next is you have not shown that your water system can consistently produce water suitable for drug manufacturing. Your manufactured oral liquid drugs with water exceeded microbiological action limits and upstream points in your water system had excessive levels of bioburden. You have not conducted process validation studies for the mixing of your drug products. Your firm manufactures products such as pediatric acetaminophen auxiliary that can cause serious adverse effects if significantly super potent. Your microbiological test methods are not adequately verified or validated. So this pretty much is saying that the water system, if you've taken my bioworks class, the water that's used in your manufacturing or pharmaceutical manufacturing is the highest purity, and it seems like this firm did not produce a very high pure water, and they had a lot of issues with bioburden and microbiological growth, and ultimately they didn't fix this or prove document how they're going to fix it. So this is why they got a warning letter. Next one is your firm did not follow your written and approved process validation protocol, which required quality attributes to be met for 3 consecutive batches to qualify the alternate API. Several batches were manufactured without following the protocol, and they all failed specification for dissolution. An interim protocol was developed to justify commercial use of alternate API, which you released to the market despite these failures. So ultimately, when you are going through your process validation, you have to produce 3 batches consecutively that passes. This firm did not produce that, and it seems like they kind of made a interim protocol, something used to kind of scoop by the fact that they were failing, and it looks like they were just trying to rush to get product to the market without actually proving that they could do this on a consistent basis through their process validation and doing 3 consecutive batches. So it's very important to be able to have that data prove that you can do it before you produce. If not, again, you can have a warning letter. Next one is your cleaning validation and verification program for manufacturing equipment is inadequate to prevent cross-contamination. So there's visible drug residues found in non-dedicated equipment being cleaned by staff. Swap failures related to detergent residue across numerous pieces of non-dedicated equipment and services. Cleaning procedures used in validation and verification protocols are not always documented. Selection process for location and number of swab samples not justified or consistently documented. And adequate validation or verification studies were not always performed when introducing a new high-risk active ingredient. So again, cleaning validation, proving that from batch to batch you're preventing contamination, proving that your cleaning cycles are adequately cleaning your tanks and your pipes. Seems like this company couldn't prove that, didn't have the necessary cleaning procedures or protocols in place to help them improve that, and ultimately they were given a warning letter. So cleaning and validation and cleaning between your batches is very important. It's very important to have that in place. So again, some more warning letter examples. So you have failure to adequately validate a DHR system, failure to implement a software validation procedure, and failure to validate medical device software. You have use of an uncontrolled spreadsheet to track equipment requalification dates, failure to document and validate changes to software using medical devices, failure to validate in-house developed software used to manage non-conformances, failure to adequately ensure processes are validated, changes impacting device design are not verified or validated prior to implementation, and then fail to validate design. So it looks like validation, you can see, is huge. Failure to validate and document this adequately can, again, lead to warning letters. So validation is very important to get right, because if you don't get it right and you try to put out a product to the market, it can be pulled back and you can lose a lot of time and money. So these are some consent decrees. So consent decrees pretty much, like I said earlier, it shuts a company down. So some citations are Abbott Labs. So they were in the consent decree from 1999 to 2012. So 13 years. So they had a non-conformance with QSR, the vitro diagnostic product, and it listed they had to pay over $212 million fines to get out of this. You have Wyeth start date 2000, and the pending GMP violations. Flu Shield product discontinued and two plants were closed. So they had to pay $297 million plus 18.5% of sales. But ultimately, manufacturing continued due to medical necessity. So it looks like they had a product that was medical necessary, but they had a lot of GMP violations, so that they had to pay fines. Plus, they had to give up 18.5% of their sales. So not good for the company. Then you had Schering-Plough from 2002 to 2007. They had GMP violations. Because of this, their shares fell at 15%. So again, having the consent decrees can have a negative impact on how the company is viewed, and they lost a lot of money in the stock market. And an investor filed a $165 million class action lawsuit. So not good. They had to pay $500 million, and the production was suspended for 73 products. And approval of one of their products, Clarinex, was withheld. So again, huge implications for not following CGMPs. And then lastly, Eli Lilly from 89, not pending. So they had a GMP violation at the facility in Puerto Rico. Ultimately, this delayed approval of two drugs, agreed on fixes in 2002, but subsequent violations have left matter unresolved. So it looks like they had an agreement, but they still couldn't get it right, so which is why it's still going on. So again, FDA is here to protect the patient safety, but if the FDA finds out that a company is not doing this correctly, they can give a consent decree. The company is ultimately responsible for paying fines. Market is pulled off the product, off the market, and they're working years, sometimes over 10 years, trying to get these issues resolved. So it was important for me to get from the jump to have good quality practices in place. So true or false, something to get you thinking. I'm not going to answer it here, but it'll be on your test. Warning letters can be found on the FDA website. Is this true or false? And that's the end of this lecture. Thank you.